All right. Welcome to episode 54 of the unofficial NCLEX podcast. My name is Katie Kleber, and I am your host for this podcast. The name of this episode is Verify Appropriateness and/or Accuracy of a Treatment Order. So, I think this is absolutely essential. And you know what's kind of frustrating to me as I work through these hundreds of podcasts for you guys is, when I took the NCLEX, I thought it was just floofy. I mean, honestly, it's like, this isn't going to help me do my job. And I wasn't convinced that it was a helpful thing to study for the NCLEX. And as I work through this test plan, every single point, which turns into an episode, I'm like, man, that is important. We do that every day. Oh, yeah, you got to know that. Like, I honestly have not run into one yet where I'm like, that doesn't need to be there. Like, so just rest assured. So anyways, let's talk about verifying appropriateness of orders. So we are not foot soldiers. Nurses are not just like, hearing an order, following it, hearing an order, following it. And I don't know if you've heard this in your nursing courses, but we are to practice with a questioning attitude. So, we're practicing and making sure that, what the physician or the resident or the nurse practitioner or the PA is ordering is appropriate. We're not just doing what we're told. We're part of this conversation. So this quote from Scrubs, have you guys seen Scrubs? I absolutely love Scrubs. JD and Turk, hysterical to me. So side note, I love them. But I remember this quote, it's not Carla, the other nurse, real sassy. It might be Donna. I think it's Donna. She said, the nurse says to the doctor, about another doctor, Doug wanted me to give this man 500,000 milligrams of morphine. I thought I'd check with you before I killed a man first. It's like, this physician did not mean to write 500,000 milligrams of morphine. Chances are he meant to write 5 milligrams, but that's what happens. Physicians maybe write the wrong order on the wrong patient. It's transcribed inappropriately, put at the wrong time, or maybe it's just plain not the right thing to order for the patient, and they need to sit down with the nurse and say, hey, the nurse needs to say, hey, I saw you put this order in. What? So you don't just see the order, go do it. You really have to think about, does this order apply? Is this appropriate for this clinical picture? And we are another step in that accountability thing where we're checking over each other's work. And you think about too, medical residents, right? They go through their undergrad, they go through their medical school, and then here they've gone through medical school and now they're doing their residency. And many times that is their very first time really being in charge of patient care and being in the thick of it and not in the theoretical side of medical school. So, residents and nurses really should and need to work hand in hand and say, hey, actually we wouldn't typically give this much of this medication for this patient. Or, routinely what we do is this, So like example, I had a patient once that couldn't void after a Foley catheter was removed. And the resident said just to put a catheter back in. Like, I called to let him know, hey, it's been 8 hours, patient can't pee. And what we routinely do is we would bladder scan the patient. If there were greater than 500 milliliters of urine in the bladder, then we would straight cath them and give them more time to urinate on their own. We wouldn't automatically insert another Foley catheter, especially if we're hoping this patient is going to go home the next day, which was the case. So he put in an order to insert another Foley, and I called to verify the appropriateness of that order, that treatment order, because it was like, well, are we really addressing the problem? Are we giving them enough time? And, and honestly, truly, the resident was not aware of our typical policy or typical procedure when a patient can't pee after their Foley catheter is removed. And it doesn't mean that this resident's a terrible resident. or a doctor that puts in an inappropriate order is a terrible doctor. This is part of why checks and balances are really important. Maybe the ordering provider didn't realize something, or maybe they didn't know that something else would be better, or that an existing protocol, policy, or procedure is in place. So thinking about okay, I know this happens on the back end without involving nursing a lot, but maybe a physician will put in a medication order, and then when the pharmacist goes in to verify it, they think, hey, wait, actually the patient is already taking blank, which is similar or which will counteract, and actually this medication would be better, and then they call the physician and switch things up. So it's important that we are verifying the appropriateness of these orders, and then speaking with the physician or the ordering provider in a respectful manner, without assuming they're completely an idiot and totally unsafe with patients. We cannot take that attitude. We are working together as a team, and maybe if a resident or a newer doctor or a doctor that's not familiar with specific protocols, that hey, actually this is what we typically do in this situation. Do you want to do this? Working with them together on a team, from that perspective. So that is absolutely so essential. You're going to do this all the time, all day, every day as a nurse. I'm sure in nursing clinicals, some of you have run across situations where your clinical instructor or the nurse you're following received an order that they didn't agree with and they didn't think was best, and then they went and spoke with that ordering provider and got it altered, changed, or maybe they were brought into the loop on communication where, hey, maybe I didn't think this was appropriate, but then when I sat down with the physician and touched base with them, I realized how appropriate it was. And then when I went in to go give the medication or the treatment, because I had that conversation, I was able to educate the patient better. So really, really important, guys, essential cornerstone of your practice. So the name again of this episode was Verify Appropriateness and or Accuracy of a Treatment Order. And my translation of that is practice with a questioning attitude. So that concludes episode 54. Thank you guys so much for listening.
This has been another episode of the unofficial NCLEX Prep Podcast. To get the massive PDF guide that goes along with this podcast, head over to nrsng.com/NCLEX-Prep. That's nrsng.com/NCLEX-Prep. That's a free download that you can take with you anywhere, and you can basically have this podcast in text format. Our goal here at nrsng.com is to give you the tools and the confidence that you need to succeed in nursing school, on the NCLEX, and in your life as a nurse. We want you to succeed, and we want you to become part of this movement of nurses that is dedicated and motivated to learning and becoming the best nurse that they can possibly be. My name is John Haas, RN CCRN, and I'm the founder of NRSNG.com, and I sincerely thank you for being here, and I'm so proud of you for taking this step in your journey. Now you know what time it is now. It's time to go out and be your best self today. Happy nursing.